Hello, I'm the Doctor. Welcome to DoctorGeek. Today, I'm doing a speed rundown of the 5th Doctor for my 12 Doctors of Christmas special this month. Be sure to check back tomorrow for my rundown of the 6th Doctor, and every day after that until Christmas. So like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. Just a reminder, there will be spoilers in this episode. I will try not to say too much to make this go quicker, but I will reveal key plot points. With that said, let's pick up where we last left off. After merging with the Watcher, the Doctor regenerates while surrounded by his companions, both new and old. However, this regeneration is more unstable than the previous ones, and the Doctor needs to lie down, requesting to be brought to the TARDIS Zero Room to recuperate. But when it has to be jettisoned from the TARDIS after the two girls accidentally almost fly it into the Big Bang, they decide to go to the Dwellings of Simplicity on Catrovalva for the Doctor to rest. Meanwhile, the Master has led Adric into a trap, but when the Doctor arrives on Catrovalva, he discovers that the Master is using Adric's mathematical ability and the block computations from Legopolis to create a world of illusion. Realizing this, they free Adric and destroy the illusion, forcing the Master to flee for the first time in his new body. The Doctor declares that he is fully recovered from his regeneration, and the 4 travelers set off in the TARDIS. The TARDIS materializes on an advanced alien spacecraft, and the 4 travelers get separated. The Doctor and Tegan reach the bridge of the ship, where the green-skinned commander introduces himself as Monarch, the ruler of Urbanka, and his associates and fellow Urbankans are the Ministers of Enlightenment and Persuasion. The leader reveals their ship is bound for Earth, and it becomes apparent that there are 4 distinct human cultures represented on the vessel by a small group of humans: ancient Greeks, Chinese Mandarins, the Maya people, and tribesmen of a very early Australian Aboriginal culture. The Urbankans have made periodic visits to Earth. This time, they have left their homeworld after erratic solar activity, and they now wish to settle on Earth, with 3 billion of their species stored on slides. The Doctor learns that the Urbankans don't plan to colonize peacefully, and want to use a deadly toxin to kill all the humans, save for the ones on their ship, which have already been converted into androids. The Doctor, with the help of the human-converted androids, leads a revolt against the Urbankans, and Monarch, the only one not an android, is exposed to his own deadly toxin and killed. As they return to the ship, Nyssa collapses. They arrive on the jungle planet Devaloka, and the Doctor and Adric go into the jungle to explore while Nyssa stays in the TARDIS to rest. Tegan takes a nap under some wind chimes and is mentally attacked, and eventually possessed by an evil entity known as the Mara. Tegan passes the Mara onto one of the native Kinda, who is transformed by the power of the Mara and given the ability of speech, which males of his species do not possess. The Doctor finds Tegan and learns about the Mara, and he realizes that the only way to beat it, since evil can never face itself, is to surround it with mirrors. They surround the native with mirrors, and the Mara jumps from his body, growing into a giant size before being banished back into the shadows. They return to the TARDIS, where Nyssa wakes up, refreshed. The Doctor attempts to bring Tegan back to Heathrow Airport, but accidentally arrives 300 years too early, which causes Tegan to storm off out of the TARDIS. They meet Richard Mace, a highwayman and thespian, who tells them that a comet recently landed nearby. They notice his necklace is actually a bracelet used for criminal control, and they determine that whatever crashed survived. They learn that the survivors are 3 Terraleptal prison escapees, and they intend to wipe out all indigenous life on Earth by releasing rats infected with an enhanced strain of the Great Plague. In the final battle, the Terraleptal's gun overheats and explodes, killing them, and accidentally starting the Great Fire of London. The TARDIS materializes in June 1925, and the TARDIS team are quickly invited to a costume party that night, and even provided with costumes to wear. However, using their costumes, the Doctor is framed for murder. The Doctor resorts to using his TARDIS to corroborate his outlandish story and prove his innocence. However, the real murderer appears again, kidnapping Nyssa and taking her to the roof of the building. But after the Doctor convinces him to let her go, he falls to his death. The TARDIS next lands sometime in the Earth's future, and Adric complains to the Doctor that he feels like he's not appreciated as much as Nyssa or Tegan. They decide to explore a cave system, and while there, get attacked by androids. The Doctor defeats these androids and finds that they are hiding a powerful bomb capable of destroying the planet. They defuse the bomb and trace its signal back to a freighter currently entering into the solar system, and they use the TARDIS to land aboard it. The ship is being monitored by the Cybermen, and with their bomb defused and the Doctor still interfering, they take control of the freighter and lock its controls for a warp speed collision with the Earth. They command the Doctor to use his TARDIS to bring them to safety, and he is forced to leave Adric on board the ship, though Adric passes the Doctor his gold badge for mathematical excellence before they leave. Adric begins working to undo the control lock, first succeeding in jumping the ship back 65 million years into the past, then removing it from warp drive. The other crew members flee in the escape pods, but Adric stays to try and break the lock, and just as he's about to input an answer, a weakened Cyberman destroys the keyboard, preventing his attempt. The Doctor uses Adric's badge to disable the Cyberman, but realizes his TARDIS controls are damaged and he cannot rescue Adric. The TARDIS team looks on in shock as the freighter collides with Earth in a massive explosion, causing the extinction of the dinosaurs and the end of Adric. The episode ends with silence on a close-up of Adric's broken badge. The Doctor, Nyssa, and Tegan finally arrive at Heathrow Airport and learn that a Concorde has mysteriously vanished just before landing. Later, in another Concorde with the TARDIS on board, they appear to land at Heathrow, but the Doctor determines that they have entered into a time corridor to 140 million years in the past. Here, they are forced to work for a mystic named Khalid to break into a nearby citadel, but the Doctor soon uncovers that Khalid is really the Master, who has been trapped here since they last met. The Doctor agrees to give the Master the parts he needs for his TARDIS if he will stop brainwashing the prisoners and allow them to escape. He agrees, and flees in his newly repaired TARDIS. However, the Doctor ensures that he will be taken to a planet where he will be tried for his crimes. Assuming that Tegan will want to stay at Heathrow, Nyssa and the Doctor leave her behind, and she sadly watches the TARDIS disappear. On Gallifrey, a Time Lord trader is at work, stealing the biodata code of the Doctor and giving it to a creature known as the Renegade, who is composed of antimatter. It uses the biodata to invade the TARDIS and the Doctor's metabolism. Nyssa helps the Doctor recover, but he decides to head to Gallifrey to track down the supplier of his biodata, knowing that, unless the creature trying to cross universes is stopped, its incursion could cause a chain reaction, proving fatal to our universe. The Doctor is brought before the High Council of Gallifrey and sentenced to execution so that the Renegade cannot bond to him. However, the execution is not carried out. Meanwhile, in Amsterdam, Tegan Jovanka is waiting to meet her cousin, but his friend arrives and tells her that he's gone missing. While searching for him, she gets captured by the Renegade, who has her brain scanned, revealing she knows the Doctor. Later, at the High Council, the Renegade appears, revealing himself to be none other than Omega, the Time Lord the three Doctors defeated, and he seizes control of Gallifrey. Luckily, the Doctor and Nyssa sneak away to the TARDIS, and using Tegan's knowledge, determine that Omega set up his base in Amsterdam on Earth. They go there, find the crypt, and watch as Omega fully transfers into the Doctor, resembling him completely. His bond to this universe is now complete. However, the transfer is unstable, and Omega's flesh decays. Using an antimatter converter, the Doctor banishes him back to his universe of antimatter. Tegan then decides to rejoin the TARDIS, this time as a willing traveler. The arrival of the TARDIS on Manusa, former homeworld of both the Manusan and Sumaran empires, triggers nightmares in Tegan, who dreams of a snake-shaped cave mouth. It is evident to the Doctor that the Mara is reasserting itself over her mind. He attempts to calm her by taking her and Nyssa in search of the cave, but Tegan is too scared to enter when they find it, and she runs away. Alone and confused, Tegan falls under the control of the Mara once more, reveling in horror and destruction. Manusa is in the middle of celebrating the banishment of the Mara from the civilization 500 years prior, and the Doctor is given a small blue crystal called the Little Mind's Eye, which is used by the Snakedancers, a mystical cult, in their ceremonies to repel the Mara. The Doctor realizes that the small crystal and its large counterpart, the Great Mind's Eye, can be used as focal points for mental energy and can turn thought into matter. He realizes that the Manusans must have once been a very advanced people. They created the Great Mind's Eye without realizing its full potential, and the crystal drew the fear, hatred, and evil from their minds, amplified it, and fed it back to them. Thus, the Mara was born into Manusa, and the reign of the Sumaran Empire began. During this ceremony for the celebration, as the Mara prepares to make its return, the Doctor uses a technique found in an old snake dancer's diary, relaxing his mind and disrupting the Mara's manifestation as a giant snake, killing the creature. The Doctor comforts Tegan that the Mara is finally gone for good. In 1983, Turlo, a stranded alien Tryon posing as a human student, is given an offer by the Black Guardian for passage off of Earth if he should kill the Doctor. Meanwhile, the Doctor, Tegan, and Nyssa find the TARDIS caught up in the warp ellipse of a starliner trapped in time. Materializing on board the starliner, they find a transmat device with endpoints to Earth in 1977 and 1983. It is responsible for the interference, and Turlough arrives from the 1983 transmat, feigning a lack of comprehension of the situation. The Doctor instructs Nyssa and Tegan to stay on board the TARDIS, while he returns with Turlough to 1983 to fix the transmat point, hoping it will allow the TARDIS to escape. Instead, the TARDIS brings them to 1977. The Doctor, suspecting that UNIT would know its whereabouts, visits his friend, the retired Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, and is surprised to learn that some trauma in the past has made him lose the memories of the last few years. In 1977, Nyssa and Tegan leave the TARDIS and find a horribly disfigured man in the transmat capsule, whom they think is the Doctor. They seek out help from the younger Brigadier, and the imposter Doctor urges all three to return with him to the Starliner via the TARDIS. The Doctor regroups with his companions in 1983, realizing two versions of the Brigadier are on board, and he instructs them all to keep the two separated, as if they should touch, it could release a potentially catastrophic energy discharge. The imposter Doctor reveals himself to be the Mawdryn, one of several human scientists that were trying to discover the Time Lord's secret of regeneration. Their experiments failed, and he and his fellow scientists have become immortal in the painful state and seek to die. Elsewhere on the ship, the two Brigadiers, having been left alone, have managed to find each other. They reach out to touch, and the flash of energy occurs at just the right moment to help end the Mawdryn and his colleagues' lives, just as they requested. The younger Brigadier passes out from shock, and the Doctor suspects that this was the trauma that caused him to lose his memories. The TARDIS crew return the Brigadiers to their proper time, and the Doctor accepts Turlough's request to join his crew, unaware of the Black Guardian's influence. Turlough follows the instructions of the Black Guardian and sabotages the TARDIS, causing parts of it to disintegrate. To save itself, the TARDIS materializes on a spaceship, heading towards an unknown destination. While exploring the ship, they discover that it is a transport carrying Lazars, sufferers of a leprosy-like disease, to a space station named Terminus. The owners of the station claim that they have a cure, but no one who has ever gone has returned. The Doctor discovers that Terminus is at the center of the known universe, which he finds very unsettling. When he learns that it's also a time ship, he soon figures out that at some point in its past, the fuel that powered Terminus became unstable, and when the ship tried to jettison its fuel tank in the time vortex, it exploded, creating the Big Bang. However, there is still one tank left to be jettisoned, and while the first created the universe, the second will destroy it. The Doctor staves off the counter long enough to disable the computer and cut the engine control wires. With the danger over, Nyssa decides to stay on Terminus, where her scientific skills are needed, so she bids her friends farewell. The Doctor materializes the TARDIS in what appears to be the hold of an Edwardian vessel, though the Doctor senses something is amiss. The human crew have no idea how or why they got here, but they know that they are helping their captain to run a race. The Doctor and his companions, Tegan and Turlough, discover that the ship and several other historical ships are competing in a solar sail race through the solar system. The ship's officers reveal themselves to be Eternals, who live in the trackless wastes of eternity, and rely on mortals for their thoughts and ideas. This race is being run by the Guardians to win Enlightenment, the wisdom to know everything. As the race continues, several of the vessels are destroyed by explosions caused by another ship, the Buccaneer, whose captain is also in line with the Black Guardian. Nearing the end of the race, the Buccaneer pulls ahead, but the Doctor and Turlough travel to it on the TARDIS, and manage to win the race for themselves. Turlough, face to face with the Black Guardian, rejects betraying the Doctor, even though it would mean getting Enlightenment. The Doctor tells him that the true Enlightenment is making that choice. The Doctor and his companions arrive at a medieval joust and are surprised to be greeted warmly by King John, who calls them his demons. The Doctor determines that the king must be an imposter, because the real King John was in London at this time. It seems the king's joust champion is also not what he says he is, as it is revealed to be the Master once again. The Doctor confronts the king and learns the truth. He is actually Chameleon, a war weapon found by the Master with the ability to shapeshift into any disguise or persona. The Master plans to ruin King John's reputation, to provoke a rebellion and doom the future. The Doctor challenges the Master to a battle of wills over control of Chameleon, and after winning, he seals Chameleon in his own TARDIS, thwarting the Master's scheme. Chameleon becomes the newest and most bizarre companion in the TARDIS. The first 5 doctors, along with their companions Susan Foreman, Sarah Jane Smith, and the Brigadier, are mysteriously pulled from their respective time zones and brought to the Death Zone on Gallifrey, except for the 4th Doctor and Romana, who end up trapped in the time vortex. The doctors lead their respective companions towards a tower in the middle of the Death Zone. Meanwhile, in the Citadel, the High Council note the Doctor's peril and summon the Master to help him, offering him a new set of regenerations in return. However, the Doctor doesn't trust the Master and refuses his help. The Doctor discovers that the Time Lord Barusa is responsible, as he is trying to use the Doctors to break into the tomb of Rassilon, where he plans to gain immortality and become the President Eternal of Gallifrey. However, his eternal life is not as he imagined, as he is turned to stone, and Rassilon ends up aiding the Doctor by freeing the 4th from the vortex and returning everyone to their proper time. The Doctor, Tegan, and Turlough arrive on Seabase 4, a nuclear warhead station led by Commander Vorshak. They are discovered and captured. Meanwhile, underwater, the Silurians find the Sea Devils and revive them, and the two forces launch an attack on the base, even using a sea monster named the Mirka that manages to penetrate into the base. But the Doctor manages to destroy it. The Silurian and Sea Devils invade the base and tell the Doctor they plan to trigger a global war with the nuclear missiles, to get humanity to destroy itself. The Doctor discovers a gas that is lethal to the reptiles, but tries to find another way as to avoid the genocide. Ultimately though, it's his only option, and he feeds it into the air supply, causing the invading forces to lose consciousness and eventually die. The Doctor laments that there should have been a better way. The Doctor promises to take his companion, Tegan, to 1984 so she can spend some time with her grandfather, and the Doctor sets the coordinates to Little Hodgcombe, where he resides. However, the TARDIS experiences some turbulence and arrives in what appears to be a structurally unstable church. The Doctor, Tegan, and Turlough, while watching on the scanner, see a man in 17th century clothing fleeing from the church, and the Doctor dashes out to help him. However, the man has now vanished. Tegan is convinced that they have landed in the wrong time zone. However, Turlough tells her that he has checked the TARDIS coordinates and they are in 1984. Eventually, they are captured and taken to Sir George Hutchinson, who explains to the Doctor that the town is celebrating the anniversary of the Battle of Little Hodgcombe, and then he urges him to join in the celebration. Returning to the church, the Doctor discovers an alien through the crack on the wall, roaring and spewing smoke. The Doctor realizes that the creature in the church is feeding off the psychic energy being released by the War Games. Using his TARDIS, the Doctor blocks the energy feeding the creature, causing it to first lash out in desperation before destroying itself. The TARDIS lands in the far future on the planet Frontios, where some of the last vestiges of humanity are struggling for survival. The planet is being attacked by meteorite showers orchestrated by an unknown enemy responsible for the disappearance of several prominent colonists, including the colony's leader, Captain Revere. The Doctor decides to get involved by helping colonists injured in the meteor bombardment, and provides medical assistance. Suddenly, another bombardment leaves nothing standing, with the TARDIS seemingly destroyed. The Doctor, Tegan, and Turlough discover that the culprits are Gravis and his Tractators, giant insects with incredible power over gravity. Turlough briefly undergoes a sort of nervous breakdown because the Tractators once attempted to invade his homeworld long ago. Gravis intends to transform Frontios into an enormous spaceship. Once successful, he would be able to spread the terror of the Tractators across the galaxy. The Doctor ushers Gravis in, and then tricks him into reassembling the TARDIS by using his power over gravity. Once fully assembled, Gravis is effectively cut off from his fellow Tractators, which revert to a harmless state. The Doctor and Tegan deposit the now dormant Gravis on an uninhabited planet. Once the TARDIS has left Frontios, its engines start making a worrisome noise. The Doctor appears to be helpless as the ship is being pulled towards the center of the universe. They are being dragged down a time corridor, and when they land, they find themselves in the London Docklands on Butler's Wharf in the year 1984. At the same time, the Daleks are attacking a prison space station whose only prisoner is Davros, the creator of the Daleks, where he has been held for 90 years since the events of Destiny of the Daleks. Davros learns that the Daleks have lost their war against the Movellans due to the development of a virus that specifically attacks Dalek tissue, so the Daleks have awakened Davros to find a cure. Back on Earth, the Doctor deals with some Daleks coming through the time corridor before using the TARDIS to go through it, appearing on the Dalek ship. He gets captured, but instead of killing him, the Daleks bring him to the Supreme Dalek, and they reveal that their plan is to clone the Doctor and his companions and use them to assassinate the High Council of Time Lords on Gallifrey. However, before the mind conversion is completed, the Doctor manages to break through the conditioning of one of the Daleks' brainwashed slaves and stop the process just in time. The Doctor confronts Davros in the lab, but misses his chance to kill him. Davros goes about taking over the Dalek fleet, using mind control on some and the Mawdryn virus to kill the others who would try and stop him. At the warehouse, a battle takes place between Davros Daleks and those loyal to the Supreme Dalek. While back on the space station, Davros prepares to use an escape pod to flee, but the Mawdryn virus attacks and seemingly kills him as well. Finally, the man who briefly broke the Dalek conditioning earlier attempts to self-destruct the Dalek ship, and manages to do it with his last breath, killing the whole fleet. As the TARDIS team prepares to leave, Tegan refuses, saying that this was one massacre too far. She no longer enjoys her adventures and wants to give it up, and so she runs off. The Doctor is saddened by this. As the TARDIS vanishes, Tegan runs back, remembering the Doctor's old admonishment, "Brave heart, Tegan." She calls out to the empty air that she will miss him. In the Canary Islands, a woman named Perry Brown is accompanying her stepfather on an archaeological expedition, but being bored, she tries to make an escape by swimming from the boat. Luckily, the TARDIS has landed close by, and Turlough, hearing Perry's screams for help, rescues her from drowning. While looking through her possessions, he finds a metal object from the dig that has a symbol of 2 triangles on it that he also has burned into his skin. The Doctor uses the artifact to triangulate a signal it's emanating, and the TARDIS soon appears on the planet Sarn, with the Doctor and Turlough going to explore. Meanwhile, Chameleon, still on the TARDIS despite not actually appearing in the previous adventure, begins to make contact again with the Master, and after trying to warn Perry of the danger, he is overcome by the Master and chases her out of the TARDIS. In the Sarn colony, the people see Turlough's mark and greet him as the second chosen one, the first being a man named Malkin, who was brought to them as a baby with the same marking. Turlough realizes that Malkin may be his brother, and starts to worry, even more so when Perry arrives with news of the Master. It seems that Sarn is a long-abandoned Trion colony planet, and Turlough, a Trion, suspects some of his family were sent here after a revolution against the hereditary leading clans of his homeworld. He supposes his father died in a crash, but that Malkin survived, while he himself was sent to exile in England. Turlough realizes that Sarn is in danger of a volcanic eruption that would destroy the colony, and he contacts Trion to ask for help, despite meaning that it will likely end his freedom. However, he learns that general amnesty has been issued and he is free to return home. Meanwhile, the Doctor manages to weaken the Master's hold over Chameleon, and watches as the Master is seemingly consumed by flames. However, Chameleon has been damaged beyond repair and begs the Doctor to kill him, which he does. When the Doctor returns to pick up Turlough, he lets the Doctor know that he is returning home, but he thanks him for everything he's been taught on their travels, telling Perry to take care of the Doctor. Perry tells the Doctor that she has a few months of vacation that she needs to use, and decides to join the Doctor in the TARDIS. Finally, the TARDIS lands on Androzani Minor, and the Doctor and Perry start to explore the caves. They both get caught briefly in a sticky substance called Spectrox, but move on. The two are captured, and since no one recognizes them, they are sentenced to execution. However, a man named Shiraz Jek replaces them with androids so that they can escape. At Jek's home, they complain of being sick. Jek has his android diagnose them and tells them that their interaction with Spectrox is lethal, and the only known cure is currently out of reach. After being put under the guard of Jek's androids, the Doctor manages to reprogram them and make an escape, but Perry is soon captured and the Doctor ends up in a gunrunner ship. But he takes control of it and pilots it back down to Androzani Minor, determined to save Perry if it's the last thing he does. Jek ends up saving Perry and does what he can do to soothe her aches. When the Doctor finds them, Jek takes pity on them, and despite the low odds of them finding it, he directs the Doctor to where he might locate the cure. Sure enough, the Doctor fills 2 vials with the rare cure, milk from a queen bat, and makes his way back to the TARDIS. But as he carries Perry into the ship, he drops one of the vials. Giving Perry the remaining cure, she immediately recovers, but she finds the Doctor in pain on the floor. He tells her he will soon regenerate, though admits it feels different this time, and he starts to hallucinate his past companions, and even the Master, before finally, and with a jolt, sitting up with his new face, telling Perry that he is changed, and not a moment too soon. So, that was my speedrun summary of the 5th Doctor's tenure in the TARDIS. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out the past videos I've done, including the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Doctors. And don't forget to like and subscribe for new videos every week, including a new video every day until Christmas. As always, thank you for being my companion on this journey today. I'm the Doctor. Bye for now.